So you did some math helped you.
I think that's an important thing for everyone to learn. Just when you make a decision, like what's the probability of it actually working out, and for your own success. If there are 5,000 people going after one girl, what's the chance of you actually going with that girl?
And are you the best low. Even when it comes to that?
When you start doing the math, you're like, no.
And so I hear journalism is about connections.
You have to know people. So journalism, law, there are a lot of courses that there are too many people and chances of success are minimal. Yeah. So I always wanted to do something that, number one, I was interested in deeply. And number two, that I thought would work. The thing about biochemistry that was fascinating was it's a very good course. It changed how I think. However, the opportunities are very minimal. So only 2 people out of every graduating class would actually get proper gigs.
And this is when you talk about proper gigs, where Cambridge?
This is Cambridge, high flying, bro. Man. These are the labs you want to be in, bro. Doing cancer research and stuff like that. Otherwise, you're a med rep. You know what a med rep is? You're a salesperson for medicines. Those people who walk around with a medicine bag, they go to the hospital
to convince
the doctor.
Prescribe, right?
Yeah, give now they like how devrel does it. Now you're going to give swag, pens, t-shirts.
Now the next guy who's coming here with malaria, no quinine. It has to be. This
is our drug. We have to sell our drug. So that was.
And that's crazy. Like here in US, it's quite crazy.
You have to, bro. Now imagine you're doing this in Kenya.
Oh,
it's bro. Nikukonda too.
Yeah, I have my pharmacy and this is what you are prescribing. Get the fuck out of here.
Some people do succeed in it. I'm not saying also it's everyone will fail. But it's just very hard. It's a hard life to live.
Would you open a pharmacy with a biochem degree?
Yeah. You're given a special certification.
You can get the certificate. Okay.
Yeah, when you do biochem, you're given the certification to
which
handle
is special,
chemicals.
You said?
Yeah, to handle chemicals.
Oh, I see.
You can't.
You are not a pharmacist.
Yeah, you're not a pharmacist, but you can purchase chemical products without questions.
Yeah.
Like us as normal people, we can't go purchase.
Yeah, for sure.
Hydrochloric acid. Probably it's for nefarious reasons. So so you have to get that certification. But it's good. It's a good course if you did exceedingly well, got a first class and went into Cambridge and places like that. Because I also wanted success. I wanted to feel like I have impact in society, not just chasing the next 1,000 shillings. So,
but what are the odds of getting first class?
Hey, bro, I'm telling you,
there were 2 guys,
2 or 1. Biochemistry,
and now these class are gods.
Boss, this guy, they're not normal, man.
Even if you track their history, it's not something that they just guys. Tried. They are good.
It's tough, and they probably repeated a couple of courses, man. It wasn't the easiest course to do because there's a lot of lab work, a lot of memorization, a lot of physics as well. Got a bit of physics in first year, second year to kind of master. Because everything you're doing is kind of I would essentially be trying to understand in one day what happened in MK's body on a chemical level. How did you...
And these are pretty details.
This is details, bro, at the molecular level. I'm not looking at it from a cell like a doctor or your organ. No, doctors go to biochemists to find out what actually went wrong,
with the organ.
Yeah.
Or this part of the organ.
Yeah, because it's a chemical breakdown. There's a chemical pathway that broke down.
Now that you're saying this, is it possible to investigate cancer at that minute level?
Yeah, and that's what they're doing now. I mean, people put a lot of money into this.
Yeah.
Spend years of their lives, their whole lives researching this. Cancer is very tricky. And one interesting thing I learned in biochemistry was that quite a few of some of the medicines we have as well, the early medicines, cures for tuberculosis, and some of these were actually like lucky mistakes. Just someone just
did something accidentally and
it just worked, and you're like, oh crap, let's keep this going, So a lot of the things that happen are not also you're going to go to school and then you'll do a degree and then now you go and figure out cancer. That's not how it works. Cancer is very complicated. You're now dealing with a genetic disorder, essentially.
And it can change over time.
Yeah, because that's why you find when someone, if they remove a tumor, the chances are it's going to come back after a couple of years, right? Yeah. So, because it's a genetic defect, it's like you have a bug in your code. So no matter how many times you patch it and you don't actually rewrite the code properly, you still
gonna show
something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So regardless, so it's at that level, like that deeply encoded.
Yeah.
So I feel like also that I also had a wrong aspiration when I joined biochemistry. I thought I would do my degree and end up becoming like the best, like figure out cancer, maybe come up with a new medicine or whatever it is. That wasn't me, man. I realized
you're
quickly,
not too you're not patient for this.
Do I have 50 years of my life just researching one thing? Nah, man.
Yeah.
I at the time I was hanging out with a lot of computer science guys. That's how I discovered about Google developer communities, all that kind of stuff.
So this is now second year, first year,
second year, third year. There. That's
so
when I was hanging out with
these
these guys.
GDGs.
Yeah, man. And these guys had money. You know, the early days of GDG, like Google was pouring.
Yeah, you guys were good. You know, we started that shit in Kenya, bro. And you're like, the intention was not to make money or anything, but I realized, and that's actually one thing that discouraged us. And there were like 7 guys of us. We sat down and were like, GDG was happening all over. So we sat at University of Nairobi. I think it was Ahmed, Andati, Nanda, myself, Banta, and some other 2 guys I can't remember. I think even, no, Kolo was not there. So we sat down and like, how can we start these and at least leverage on this community stuff and see how people go about it. And we started meetings at UON, and then that was like the school GDG, and then we had another one that was involving the outsiders or the people already in the industry at IAM. But over time we realized, there are these new crop of guys coming in. This thing is going and starting all over now. I think maybe get on in other places. Yeah. And people now are trying to like, get this huge, we never got any budget. We just got swag. Okay, so we're like, okay, this one clearly was not the intention. And then, with student, of course, if there's a lot of money, the focus shifts to something else that, which is not cool.
It really changed. I think it did 2 things. One positive, one negative. So I think it did a disservice to the community at that time a little bit, in the sense that maybe people weren't spending that budget properly on the community. Yeah. They were maybe enriching themselves. Yeah. Well, at the same time, that money, like being able to go to school, like you host bigger events than your university. Like, bro, your university, it's power, man. That gave students, like, it showed people that there's something greater they could aspire to. Like, I think maybe that was something that I think also kind of hooked me, was like, it wasn't the money. It was like, guys, you guys are talking to Google guys directly, bro. No, are you serious with life, bro? And these guys, fine, like, you can maybe misuse the money, have a good time, whatever it is, but I don't care about that. I'm thinking about it like, you're talking to Google guys. You have access to the latest Google products. That is amazing, bro. That's what I want. What I want in my life. That's biochemistry. I can't ask for the latest lab equipment, bro.
From Cambridge.
From Cambridge, bro. I can't ask
Cambridge doesn't know you.
I can't ask for some of, because biochemistry equipment is very expensive. Like for you to just even run a good lab, it's not cheap. Yeah. Centrifuges, I don't know what. But for me, I saw tech as a way out of this. I was like, okay, I could spend 50 years doing this thing. Maybe I'll become the greatest. Like, I'll figure out some crazy thing. But that's a big maybe. Probability again. I saw this tech thing, bro. This tech thing, you don't have to learn that long.
The entry is...
The barrier is like here.
That's why I love tech, bro. You get a laptop and the internet. You have access to anything you want to do in the world. Yeah. So the limit is just you.
Yes. So let me actually, I have a good story here.
Sure.
So I was in first year in Egerton.
Yeah.
And I remember I had met this friend of mine. I made a friend. It's a chick. She's called Winnie. I think she went to Andela at some point. Yeah. Amazing chick. She had just done an Immobilis. Remember Immobilis?
Yeah, Immobilis was the after I but
Java.
it was Immobilis.
Hey, you know Java, like the teaching guys how to write the apps for like now Kabambes, like the Java, those 2 Java apps. So this chick is the person who showed me for the first time, like how to run a Hello World in Java.
And you saw it in on your phone?
No, on my phone. That's on the laptop. She just pulled up
on the IDE.
Yeah. Hello World.
You're like, what?
I chose the wrong course.
You can manipulate the computer. But then did you consider changing or transferring?
Many times I did. But also at the time I was also like, But this biochemistry thing is also fascinating, you know. It's hard to make these decisions as well.
Yeah.
I was very young as well. I was like 19 maybe at that time.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to do this. This is a beautiful thing. It's easy to do. I don't have to like use pipettes and stuff, man, just to like get something done. So
what did you say?
Pipettes, bro. You remember pipettes, bro? You were getting that blue fluid into your mouth when you're trying to like just suck it in.
Chief, why did you choose this course?
It was so interesting, bro. The last day I was in school, the last class I attended, we were in lab and we extracted DNA, bro. Like
from who?
From a rabbit.
Okay.
Yeah, we killed a rabbit. Sadly,
you had to kill it.
Yeah, we had to kill the rabbit, bro. But now people were very malicious. So what they did, we were supposed to use the whole rabbit, but they took the meat and went and cooked it, bro.
So where did you get the DNA from?
the remaining organs. So there was liver, and we also kept the blood as well.
So please take me through this, because now it's interesting, but the way you're putting it is traumatizing.
It is. You have to kill something, bro. So essentially, like the whole process is essentially like it's kind of like. So you take the whatever organ or the blood, whatever you want to use, and typically it's an organ because that's where you're gonna get the best cells. Yeah. And you kind of like the solutions you have to take it through. I can't remember exactly what they were, but then you have to take it to a centrifuge. So you have to spin those two cells, spin them. Bro.
So is this blood?
It's now like this is now we do too much. We are beyond that. We are now dealing with cells. So you have to kind of unwind the cell. You have to like, you know how you have like a sweet, right? And inside is the bubble gum, and you have to the lollipop. You have to suck the lollipop to you part of the bubble gum. Yeah. So it kind of like that's the process you're trying to go through, where you're spinning it on a thing. It's called a centrifuge. Just spins
to get now the bubble gum.
To get now like the DNA. It starts the nucleus starts unwinding. It's like cotton wool. It starts unwinding, and then now
you need to add any chemical.
There are a couple of things you have to do. I can't remember what they were, but yeah, you're able to now like separate all the cells components and remain with the nucleus, and then now remain with the DNA, and you're able to observe it using now like an electron microscope, because this is so small. Like there's no way of even like until you see it for yourself. There's no way of understanding what you're like. You won't believe what this is.
Wait a minute. So, for you to determine a DNA, you have to have two comparative.
No, like all you want is the strands. You want to see the strands.
But what are you comparing? What are you comparing it with?
The DNA.
Or just what is one organic.
Yeah, just one.
And you see those
DNA looks the same, bro.
Like those strands that join.
Yeah, you see the strands, and you start seeing them leaving each other. You're like, oh yeah, this is actually like DNA, bro.
You know, my mind was where I maybe want to determine paternity.
Oh no, okay, that's part of the process now.
Yeah, like because I wanted to wrap my head around.
We weren't being taught paternity tests.
Because now you have to compare, like and there's some
so that one you have to figure out the sequences. So everyone's DNA is special because it's a long line of just numbers essentially. Just each gene is being marked. So from there, now you compare that. And if you're related to someone, it's going to be largely similar, except for maybe a few differences. So there are special ones that they kind of look at. I don't know the whole process, but essentially it's just pattern matching, like in code. Just pattern matching.
Chief, everything is zeros and ones.
Yes, zeros and ones. Right? But now the interesting thing instead of there's no binary in biochemistry. Yeah. It's more of it's four things at once. So it's how those four things combine that turn it into like something special. Those the same way zeros and ones can all combine into a cool program. The same way these four molecules can create a plant, a person, a dog, anything. It's crazy that those four things do whatever they do, man.
And when you think that someone can take soil where something was buried and see it was buried here, this is the DNA. Crazy.
It's wild. It doesn't go away, man. Your existence in this earth is always remembered.
So if we wanted to know if Jesus was there, we just need to find the DNA.
Just the one piece. And
that actually we can confirm this is it.
And you'll find it.
Chief, that's very, very deep.
It's a That's why I left it. I would have spent 10 years, 50 years figuring out how I'm going to find Jesus, man.
You're still young. Maybe you don't know. You see, I've realized the path we take in life, regardless of how much we run away from what we're supposed to do. In one way, it all makes sense. You might think, right now I'm chief marketing, dog. But you end up maybe discovering, actually, the business is in DNA testing.
Possibly, man.
I'm telling you out of experience. I'm not just saying these things to just say them. But anyway, choose your path, whatever you're happy, what makes you happy, that's okay. You discover the tech communities.
Yeah.
And you fall in love with them properly.
Me, I was... So I left Egerton and went to Kabarak now to pursue IT. Like now I went and was like, okay.
Did you pause this Egerton thing?
Yeah, I left. Like, completely.
See ya. But this Winnie was in Egerton.
Yeah. So I had to let go of all these things.
And go and do diploma in IT.
No, I did not have a BSc.
A BSc.
Yeah. Start all over again.
In IT. From first year.
From first year. Like
and did you complete it?
I finished it. Yeah.
Oh,
that one I can't.
The biochem.
Biochem was like clearly there is so much that needs to happen before that becomes a viable career.
Yeah.
So I chose to go to IT. IT, and I've always, I remember my mom asking me, why didn't you even do this in the beginning? Bro.
Because you love these things.
Yeah, she knows I loved all these things.
But this biochem, you're just doing it because you know what, biochem is cool.
It was very fascinating to me. As I said, for me, if something's fascinating, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I don't care how I'm gonna do it, I'll do it.
Yeah. So how was that? Because now BSc IT, I'm sure you don't start with coding, do you?
No. You have to start from the ground level, bro. Just
understanding what is
stuff.
a computer.
Yeah, zeros and digital analog circuits, digital circuits. We did C programming in first year.
Yeah. Which even doesn't make sense a lot.
Not as
most
much.
Of the time.
Not as much anymore. And I remember this funny teacher, man. He came into class and he was explaining variables, and he had a cap, and he said, "This cap is variable A, and I can put something in the cap. So the cap is the variable, but the data is what I've put in the cap. I can remove." So he was very good. You can
put data, you can put strings, you
whatever
can put,
you want.
But
it was a good analogy.
I'll
never forget it. It was
which means you can use it for porridge, you can use it for tea.
That was how he was explaining it.
Ah, nice.
I loved it. He was a cool teacher.
Is the guy who was teaching C?
Yeah.
Is he the one who was teaching C?
Yeah. He's teaching C, C and C++. And we never did anything complex with it, though. I think for many people that was going over their heads. I think most of my classmates were struggling as well.
Yeah, C is cool, bro.
It's cool.
If you pursue it to the assembly language and stuff.
Hey, boss, there are some gods who are the people who know that, and that's what we love. Because I think there's a way you need to. I think one of the things as well with tech, the beautiful thing is that whichever way you think can fit into tech in some way or form.
Yeah, true.
So the people who are systems engineers, their minds think of things from the ground level, from the transistor level. Like they go from the transistor all the way up to the assembly, beast level guys. Then now you have guys who go from the assembly, they know where the memory is being allocated. They probably guys like Sam probably understand that really well, but then there's a new crop of engineers who are probably not as interested in how that exactly works, but are more interested in creating user experiences or very efficient backend services or whatever it is. So everyone has a place, and it goes all the way into teaching now. There's so many things you can do in tech. That's what made me excited about tech. Yeah, it was whatever I wanted to do, I could do in tech. I didn't have the limitation of I needed a first class degree to achieve my dream. So I think I went to first year I wasn't in community. I was still very new. I was observing. I went for one event at Egerton. I went back for an Intel event. This thing called the Intel XDK.
Was it hosted by this guy, Frank Tambra?
I'm not sure.
There are two guys who used to host those outreach.
Intel was fire. I used to enjoy it so much. And I remember they did a hackathon, and I remember my team won that hackathon.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, bro, I think I got something.
It's cool.
Okay.
So what did you build there?
It was exclusive. It was an app that was kind of I think we called it Project X. It was like an app where you go for invite-only parties, like register for invite-only parties.
Yeah.
So you only have the app if you're the person in the crew. Yeah, kind of thing.
I can't imagine Intel wanted to get into the app
Development space, yeah.
and they gave up.
They had to. You have to choose your battles, man.
Why didn't they do the microchip? But that's a bit tricky for most people.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because like they at the time they were they were very comfortable. At that time they were very comfortable. I think that was like
everyone was ordering the
Intel.
chips from
Everyone was doing Intel. There was no AMD. AMD was, if you had an AMD laptop, you had the most horrible laptop ever. Yeah. So what happened was at that time they maybe tried to do mobile chips, but the thing is like they were using x86. Which is the typical instruction set. That doesn't work on mobile because it generates a lot of heat. It's a very complex instruction set as well to run on a mobile device. So typically ARM won the race. These guys ARM won the race for mobile chips. They were just better. They were smaller, more heat efficient, faster. So just a matter of time. And for Intel anyway, at that time, everyone was trying to do it. Intel, IBM, everyone was trying to get into mobile apps. But no one could really beat. But I remember at that time, it was interesting. The XDK was cool. Because at that time, Android Studio had just come out. Like the first version. Like people were not even sure if they're going to use it.
This is 2010 or?
Yeah, like
2012.
No, 2012, 2013. That was when that was happening. No, maybe a bit later, maybe 2014, 15 there. And imagine this was pretty recent actually if you think about it. Android Studio was still quite young. People were not using it as much, and people didn't even have good laptops in the first place.
No, I mean, let me tell you something about Android Studio. Even right now, that thing is buggy. Like you download 5 GB of software, and then you install it. Sometimes the internet fails on you. You have to re-download. That's one thing that made me give up on Android. It's tough. And that's the thing. Like, I think those are the things that also guided how I wanted to move in my career. So I was like, look at this Android thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the barrier to entry is very high. Chances of getting a very good job is high as well. But how much effort? It's this thing we used to do at, even I think you guys still do it at AT, the impact effort matrix. So you have to ask yourself, how much effort do I put in and what's the impact? That's it. So if I'm doing 5,000% effort and 100% impact, I'm not doing these things. I'm wasting my time. So I kind of like decided web development was kind of the easiest way. You don't need any special tools or anything. Maybe, and I remember the time Docker was coming out was like 20. Like people started using Docker properly was like 2017. That's when Docker was picking up. Transition of
but
things.
Everything else was just, man, like web servers, man. Like you just had to like go the hard way, cPanel and stuff, But it was easy to use. All you needed was a good enough computer. I wasn't hanging a lot, and you could write code, man. You could write.
I remember, by those computers then were not that fast.
My first computer was I wrote code with was had an Intel Atom processor.
Pentium.
Not Pentium, Atom. It was that laptop was like
you type and wait.
It's here. It was like a tiny laptop, but it was the first laptop I owned myself. I loved it. It did well, man. It tried. It wrote the Intel XDK stuff. It helped me get started with like general programming.
You call it Project X.
Project X, it was the first one.
The one Project X.
So I really tried, man. I think, and that's why for me, I feel also like tools are important.
But you should work with what you have.
Work with what you have first. Don't don't cry all the time about it. That a time will come when tools will become easier to access.
True.
Just focus first on like learning the skills that you need, so that you can even make more use of better power, better processing, whatever you need stuff you wanna get later on. So I kind of did that for some time.
That is first year, second year.
First year. So second year, I started now running the community
for Kabarak. GDG, that is.
There was the main community called the iHub, Kabarak iHub.
Oh, okay.
So the patron had actually called iHub to ask them if we could use their name. And And they're like, yeah,
So it was Ayab.
it was just, we used their name, but it was we weren't that connected, to be honest. It was pretty chill. Our patron was the DVC at the time, so it was really
so there
good.
was access to resources and everything.
We had power. We had access to IBM, Intel, Google. So initially, like, I did Google and what else? Yeah, Google and IBM. Those were the ones that I kind of
hackathons or workshops or
everything, like teaching. Like, I just picked it up because I also enjoyed, because I'm learning for free.
Yeah.
So I can teach for free,
and it's facilitated in terms of resources, so you're not struggling.
I'm not struggling, man. So I can learn and I can teach for free.
But that's a very important aspect you've brought in terms of community, and that's what most people don't understand, especially guys who are starting communities nowadays. It's an opportunity to learn new stuff that is applied in the industry level for free. Yeah. Because if you decide to go the other route, it's kind of crazy.
Very expensive.
Crazy. And then you have access to knowledge, exclusive knowledge. And also you can teach that to other guys, which means also you're happy, you're
and I always say teaching is the best form of relearning. So if you want to remember stuff, teach someone about it. Like, if you want to be the really good DJ, he's practicing, obviously. But then if you really want to know if you
Open
know what
an
you
academy.
Know, try to teach somebody what you're doing. Hey, now you'll know if you know what you know. Or like, now even putting labels on things, going like, oh, this is what data science is, or this is what AI is, or this is what cloud computing really means. Like, all those things no one that time, all these things were stories. COVID hadn't hit us yet. So I learned a lot during that period. I kind of like ran the community pretty well till I was in fourth year. I'd say that the best thing was watching young students come into the iHub and gain that, like, learn how to code, learn how to, like, you see people growing, and I think that was the pleasure I found in it the most. And I think I enjoyed my time in Kabara quite a lot. Good support, good lecturers. Nothing to say that the curriculum is the same, I guess, with every place. Not up to date, but they also encouraged us. They encouraged us to
go out there,
try new things. Like, you couldn't bring during my time. For my project, you couldn't bring a school management system. You had to come with something novel, something special, so there were guys. There's a guy who built a game. There were guys who are doing IoT, IoT stuff, smart farms, all kinds of crazy stuff. So at least for the time, it was crazy. I mean, just getting the sensors, getting all these learning how to do things. I think that was a good experience.
I mean, and do you think that given that the curriculum is not changing that fast, maybe CBC might change things a little bit, but in computing, there's no day that the university or an institution of higher learning will catch up with the technology. And I think what maybe MIT guys can comment on our platform to tell us if this is still the case, how they hack it. They make sure that the fundamentals that they teach you, or the underlying knowledge they teach you,
are applicable.
They go deep to an extent that it doesn't matter how long the tech changes. And I think also this approach at the University of Nairobi, I don't know if it's still the same, that no matter how long it goes, these are the fundamentals. That will not change. What changes is how they applied and the improvements that are done to it. And you can't catch up with that, no matter how much you try. So do you think maybe more lecturers, especially in computing and even other courses, they are supposed to create pipelines where guys go out there, find your knowledge, do internship, participate in the community, run some of those communities, be active, because that will give you that platform.
And that's what happened in Kabarak. The lecturers over time became more involved, and they wanted to support the community, be part of it. They'd come to events and listen in.
Oh, nice.
That's, you see, like, learning should not be, it's not just a student, it's also the lecturer also kind of like filling in, like, oh, this is what the kids are doing these days, kind of stuff. And even for them, creating new opportunities for some of them are, because they're academics, so for them, even research papers on particular things, whether it's in computing or on AI research, because Kabarak is very heavy on AI research at the moment. So it's important for lecturers and students to work together, because all of us are students. In tech, everybody is a student. We are all learning.
Yes.
So there's no day you're waking up saying, like, have the totality of knowledge. It's about you kind of like going like, but what if it could be different? Even like at the point where like now guys like Sam like are coming up with their own stuff, like their own kind of like, that's you have to get to a point where you're kind of like, I have tried everything that is available. Now I'm creating something new. That's the next step. And when you create something new, a whole community forms around it, and then things keep. It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
So that's. I mean, I think that's a good model. I think all universities should take that approach where, in collaboration with tech companies, the guys who are coming up with these frameworks and all that stuff through community, like, or just integrating much deeper.
Yeah.
It number one, makes it easy for companies to find talent.
Yeah, true.
Because they're just in the university.
Yeah.
Number two,
and you can see what people are doing.
Yeah, and research and development stops becoming so expensive because you can do it in the universities.
Yeah.
Right? You can fund somebody's, provide a grant, maybe let's say 10 million shillings for people to do more research on how AI is going to help our agricultural sector. You know, and actually like properly following up on the research, providing the tools, whatever is needed. Yeah. So I think those are the things that can be done. But I think it just takes a few people to kind of come together and make it happen. Fast iteration, small. It's like any community. Yeah. Start with the 5 people.
Yeah.
Next weekend 10 people.
Consistent.
Next like that. It's thinking of everything from a community mindset makes it a lot easier to kind of understand what you do.
Yeah. And now that you're talking about community, before I go where you interacted with AT, joining AT and all that, do you think that, all these other industries are just laggards because community is taking over? People are becoming more, and by the way, it's very fascinating idea if you think about it. I was thinking about it the other day. And you can give me your thought around it, that the reason why communities are becoming bigger and bigger and becoming the tool of trade when it comes to, even taking your product to the market, people testing it, especially in software, is because people are becoming more smart. Yeah. Or they have access to knowledge more than they had before. And you cannot assume, because marketing is where you assume someone doesn't know about stuff. And you go there, and sometimes when you lie, you talk them to an extent that most of the things that you're saying are exaggerated. But with the community is where you give the community or people a chance to interact from the point of knowledge, not the point of ignorance. Here it is. Tell me how you think about it. Play with it. Break it. And then from that, now we can grow. So that's my take. I don't know what your take about community.
It's the next generation of marketing. And you can see so many products, not just tech products, but many products are doing this now through platforms like TikTok. Send your product to like as many, some people on TikTok, let them review the product, talk
have
about
a challenge.
It, give you feedback as well. Like, I think it's like anything. I think it's important to remember, like, when we are creating products, we are creating points of relationships, like a point in a relationship. So when you bought your iPhone, right, you have a point of contact, a relationship now with Apple, right? If the phone's camera doesn't work well or something,
you can reach out
and you can say, man, this stuff doesn't work, bro. And yes, maybe it's a lot of people that they have to respond to at the same time, but they're gonna get it. So I think it's important even for companies coming up now to kind of like do things from an approach of building a community of users around your product first, before you start spending money on marketing. I think, like, for example, I think there's so many good examples of this. There's stuff like M-Pesa, stuff like I think how banks also kind of do it. Banks, like for banks right now, where most of these people are in the financial sector, the old guys. For them, it's not about telling you what a bank account is. That's no longer the goal. The goal is just to get you to use their services, the value addition. That's what they talk about the most. But for many startups now, you see it, and it's, first of all the designs are the same. They all look the same. Number two, the language is the same. There is no originality anymore. Everyone is trying to make you send money to people. Why do you think I want to send money to everybody? I don't. I already have a small group that I'm happy with. I think that there needs to be more community is a better approach. It allows you as well, like to build core users. That's what you want in a business over time. The loyalty of your customers, and that only comes through community. If you want to build customer loyalty, community is the only way. Everything else is a story. You can shoot ads as much as you want, but if the community is dead, then people will just use your product for a year and vanish. Because
there's someone else who is intentional about it.
Intentional, and also the imagination that we've somehow come up with this most special thing in the world is ridiculous. Like anyone can do whatever. Like someone could form another AT, someone could form another Okra, someone could form. But what keeps the AT running is the loyalty of its customers, right? Okra, all these companies that we look at as big companies, Apple, all these guys, the loyalty of their customers. Nothing else. It's not that, I mean, people can't figure out how to do your job 10 times better than you any day of the week, but they won't steal your customers, so they won't make.
See what is happening at Balenciaga. It tells you how community. And do you feel that companies which are ignoring or still reviewing the community aspect of things are laggards and they're gonna miss out?
No. I think I always say, like, there's no deadline. The sooner you start, the better. Yeah, the deadline is when your company dies. So
they can take their sweet time.
You can take your sweet time. It depends on your strategy and how you want to think about it.
As long as your company doesn't die.
It don't die. That's the saddest thing. But and I don't wish that for any company. I just think, like, going forward, what we'll begin to see is like a lot more. Even marketing tools will completely evolve into kind of community management tools. And if you think about it, how many proper community management tools do you know? Very few.
Very few.
Like good
the ones
ones
that really work. It's very few.
Yeah, people. The other people say it's community management, but they're just giving you Twitter feeds.
When I started running communities, people didn't understand what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
People who actually needed to understand what is happening here, I had no idea. They're like, what is it? You don't have other things to do. Why are you so dedicated? Because I understood, like, in the future that's what's gonna take off, and I feel we're not there yet.
No.
And especially in Africa, again, I'm selfish about this. In Africa, this is where this can work perfectly, because even when you think about our culture, our ancestors, community was priority. A child was not Artist Limo's child. It was anyone older than you is your parent.
They can beat you.
Or your uncle. Because at the end of the day, they realize that if you fail, the community fails.
Yeah.
If you don't succeed, the community fails. So everyone had a responsibility to make sure that Limo is headed to the right direction. Or if you wanted a book, anyone could buy you that book.
Yeah.
Literally. If you wanted food, you could go anywhere and eat.
And get it.
You understand? Because at the end of the day, you are a resource of the community. And when you become of age, you started now providing security to that community. So everything was more community-centric as opposed to, like, right now is when I see, capitalists, people who want everything for themselves. I'm not saying it's entirely bad, but if you think about it, it's not.
We could definitely make improvements.
Yes.
I'm not against anything capitalistic. I think it's good for people to make money.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, definitely we've lost in some way or form a sense of community, like actual community.
And be intentional. There are people who actually are approaching community from a malicious point of view.
Yeah.
Big people. I don't want to mention them. Big people. You hear them doing stuff that, it's intended to have a community, but it's business.
People take
behind the scenes business.
And I think I don't call it capitalism. I call it a lack of strategy. Or rather, just different strategies. There are some strategies that are very like they eat everything they find, right? And in some companies, that's the culture, man, and you can't fight it. But I think
it's quite toxic.
It's toxic, but there are toxic people who thrive in toxic environments. They enjoy it, bro. Like that cutthroat fighting, bro. Like that for them, they're in a battlefield. They enjoy it.
My goodness.
So let them enjoy it. But everyone has to have their chance to enjoy that thing. And I think that there will be a place for them in some way in the world. And I still think there's a bigger space that's being created now for community-centric companies. I think that's arising as well from just the socioeconomic climate over time. People are like now, like I see my parents much less than I used to, right?
Yeah.
People don't go to church as much. Church used to now be the community's place. People
By
don't
the
go to
way,
church.
there's something I wanted to ask you about CRE and how important it is now that young guys are not going to church anymore. And I can't blame them. I can only say that they should know one thing, and one thing for sure. Without community, you are lost.
Yeah.
Whichever way you look at it, I don't know, maybe your family is your community, but without that, you're lost. And if there is all this that is wrong with the churches and how people approach religion, you should find your spirituality. And the easiest way to find your spirituality part of things is the community. Again, as you said, churches. So do you think now CRE might be more relevant than ever now that people lost touch with the churches?
I don't want to say one subject is important. Because CRE, number one, remember, CRE is essentially the foundations of theology.
True.
It's not even about Christianity at any rate and what Jesus said.
Yeah.
So I think, because you're literally just doing theology.
Why not Abraham or Moses?
They all said important. Jesus said the final words, man.
He said, all this shit, I concluded this way.
This is mine. That's now I'm owning the message. But I think for me, and it's an interesting book actually that came out recently, very fascinating around the notion that tech companies, especially Silicon Valley, so research was done in Silicon Valley, and what they noticed was like people are finding they're no longer going to church, but they're finding their communities at work and like people in that space, right? Like now, like for example, like your community meets every month, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the place people go to, like just meet other people, talk about issues, unwind. That's their one time to like do that without judgment. Because I feel like the challenge with the religious institutions just became like people didn't feel as accepted anymore, the younger generations. And it's not their fault. Maybe it's just, adjusting and kind of trying to rework their message to work a bit better for people.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I still feel like I've seen it. I've seen how community has become like especially these tech communities sometimes have become like places for people to actually come and find themselves. There's so many people in this ecosystem right now who without the tech community would not be themselves.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like everything about them is borrowed from like what they learned in the tech community. Their self-identity is crafted from that as well. So I think there is a role, I think, as well, like the some of these things need to play. I'm not saying it replaces religion at any rate. So this research was just talking about how a lot of kumbaya stuff happening. HR people now are like, let's do meditation, let's do stuff like that.
Trying things out.
Yeah, trying things out to calm people down, make them more productive over time. But it's also now slowly becoming a spiritual center. Whether it's good or not, I don't know, and I'm not the judge of anything. But I just think people are looking for meaning in every possible way, and providing the avenues for people to at least find a piece of themselves. Yeah, maybe in a tech community, maybe they end up becoming a Muslim, find it a bit in the Islam side. And I think one of the most appealing things Islam. Islam, if people listen to what that is, people may actually convert.
Yeah, so why can't we be allowed to be everything? Can be a Jewish if I want. I can be Islam one Sunday.
Commitment.
No, Friday or whichever it is. Okay, on a Friday I can be an Islam. On Saturday I can be a Sabbath Adventist.
But the thing is, this is always the funny thing for me, is that you can go.
Like go there?
You could go, you could just go. You could go to a mosque and participate.
But if you're a frequent, attendee, they don't take it kindly.
No, you can explain it to them.
That
I want to learn. I want to understand. Like you can't go there once.
This is the tricky part of these things. If, for instance, you go to say mosque, right, and you ain't Islam, do you know what? You're just another kafiri or a pagan,
it's okay,
brother, right?
And that's fine.
Already they have put you in a box.
That's okay. That's how they perceive me.
With them or you?
They can perceive me the way they want. I came to learn.
But not so many people who are strong like that. You know that.
I think it's... I'm not saying this is a recommendation for everybody. But for me, I've always believed that it's important to also, even just to understand their culture and just understand where they're coming from. Understand where everyone's coming from. Like trying to be more aware of what, it helps you a lot, and you'll be shocked. There's so much similarity between these religions. It's not different. Just they have practices and stuff that they want to keep. That's okay. You can still be a Christian as much as you want, but that doesn't mean like if you're not finding community there, like you can find community in other places.